Warning, you are about to enter a 3D audio nightmare. This is a cinematic story for your ears, not your eyes. Visuals are for atmosphere only. For your own safety, put on your headphones. You have been warned.
Sarah Mitchell's fingers trembled as she adjusted her camera's aperture, not from the biting December cold, but from the raw anticipation of capturing the perfect shot. The blood moon was rising early this evening, casting the snow-laden forest in a crimson glow that made every shadow look like spilled ink. Through her viewfinder, the Cooper family's cabin transformed into something almost mythical, all weathered wood and frost-rimed windows, smoke curling from the stone chimney like a ghost's fingers. Click! The sound echoed longer than it should have in the dense woods. Sarah lowered her camera, frowning. The forest was too quiet. In her 15 years of wildlife photography, she'd learned to trust that instinct. When the birds went silent, when the small creatures stilled, something was wrong. "Got what you eat?" Marcus called from the cabin's porch, his designer boots looking absurdly out of place against the rough-hewn planks. He hugged himself, breath clouding. "Because I'm pretty sure I lost feeling in my toes 10 minutes ago." "Almost," Sarah replied, though she was already packing her gear. That unnatural silence had her skin prickling. Just wanted to catch the light before... A low rumble of thunder cut her off. Both of them looked up at clouds that had turned from gray to nearly black in the past hour, heavy with the promise of snow. Inside, the cabin's main room was a clash of old and new. Jack Cooper's hunting trophies stared with glass eyes from the walls, while Marcus's satellite equipment and laptops cluttered the massive oak table. Dr. Rodriguez, Elena, she'd insisted they call her, was frowning at weather data on her tablet. "This storm's moving faster than predicted," Elena said, pushing her wire-rimmed glasses up. "We might want to consider heading back to town." Beth Cooper emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "Nonsense. We've got plenty of supplies, and Jack knows these mountains better than anyone. Right, honey?" Jack grunted from his position by the fireplace, where he was methodically cleaning his rifle. His weathered face could have been carved from the same wood as the cabin. "Storm this size, road will be impassable within 2 hours. Safer to hunker down." Their son Tommy bounced between the windows, 17 years of barely contained energy. "Maybe we'll see some wolves. Dr. Rodriguez, didn't your research show increased activity during the full moon?" "Blood moon," Sarah corrected automatically, then wished she hadn't when she saw Beth's face tighten. 3 hikers had gone missing during the last blood moon, 2 months ago. They'd found pieces, but never the bodies. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. "Well, I for one am glad we've got Jack and his arsenal, though I still say the cellular repeater I brought would be more useful than..." The lights flickered, once, twice. Then darkness crashed down like a wave. Tommy yelped, Beth cursed. The fire's glow turned familiar faces into masks of shadow. "Generator'll kick in," Jack said, but Sarah noticed he'd gone very still, rifle cradled in his lap. We waited. Nothing. "I'll check it," Jack sighed, standing. "Tommy, grab the flashlights from the..." A sound cut through the darkness, deep, resonant, ancient. A howl, but not like any wolf Sarah had ever heard. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, making the windows vibrate in their frames. The silence that followed was absolute, until Tommy whispered, "Dad, the generator's outside, right?" "Yes, son." Jack's voice was carefully neutral, about 50 yards behind the cabin. Sarah's camera was still in her hands. Without thinking, she raised it to her eye, using the viewfinder's night mode to peer into the gathering dark. Through the green-tinted display, she saw something move between the trees, something huge. The blood moon climbed higher, painting the snow red, and somewhere in the forest, something howled again.
"I'll go with you," Sarah said, already reaching for her code as Jack headed for the door. She caught Marcus's questioning look. "I've tracked wolves before. If there's one out there, I'll spot the signs." Jack paused, one hand on the doorknob. The silence stretched until Beth broke it. "Jack Cooper, don't you dare go out there alone!" "Flashlights," Jack muttered, yanking open a drawer. The beams cut yellow circles in the darkness as he distributed them. "Tommy, you stay inside. Elena, keep trying the radio. Marcus, I know, keep working on the satellite phone." Marcus's fingers were already flying over his keyboard, face ghostly in the laptop's glow. The cold hit Sarah like a physical blow when they stepped outside. The blood moon hung bloated overhead, turning the snow-covered clearing into a crimson wasteland. Their boots crunched in perfect sync as they moved toward the generator, flashlight beams sweeping the tree line. "You tracked wolves before?" Jack asked quietly. "In Yellowstone, Alaska. Never heard one sound like that, though." Sarah kept her voice low, professional. "That howl, the resonance was wrong. Too deep. Jack's beard twitched. Noticed that too, did you? They reached the generator, a hulking shape under its protective awning. Sarah's breath caught. Deep gouges marked the metal casing, as if something with enormous claws had... Another howl shattered the night, closer this time, much closer. Jack spun, rifle raised. Sarah's flashlight beam caught movement at the forest's edge, a shadow darker than darkness, massive shoulders moving with liquid grace. Then it was gone. Inside, Jack breathed. Now! They backed away from the generator, step by careful step. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs as she tracked their retreat through her mental map. 20 yards to the cabin. 15. 10. A branch snapped in the woods, sharp as a gunshot. 5 yards. Something growled, a sound so deep Sarah felt it in her bones. Jack reached the porch first, yanking the door open. Sarah was 2 steps behind when her flashlight caught something in the snow. She froze. Tracks. But not like any wolf prints she'd ever seen. These were huge, easily twice the size of a normal wolf's paw, and there was something wrong with their shape, as if the creature's foot structure was changing. "Sarah!" Jack hissed. She backed through the door, and Jack slammed it shut. The locks engaged with heavy clicks. Inside, 5 faces turned to them. Tommy was practically vibrating with nervous energy. "Did you see it? What was it? Was it..." "Generator's dead, torn up pretty bad, and there's something out there, something big." Elena leaned forward. "How big? Did you see?" "The tracks," I interrupted, unable to keep the tremor from my voice. "They started like wolf prints, but then they changed, like the creature's anatomy was shifting as it walked. And they were fresh, very fresh." Marcus laughed, but it came out strangled. That's not possible. Wolves don't just..." A massive impact shook the cabin's rear wall. Beth screamed. Tommy dropped his flashlight. The beam rolled across the floor, illuminating Jack's face as he raised his rifle. Thud. Something was testing the cabin's strength, methodically, intelligently. Thud. "The windows," whispered Beth. "We need to..." The sound of shattering glass cut her off. Cold air rushed in from the kitchen, carrying with it a smell like wet fur and copper, and something else, something that made Sarah's primitive hindbrain scream danger. And then they heard it, the click of claws on hardwood, moving closer in the darkness.
The kitchen door hung askew on broken hinges, winter wind howling through the gap. Sarah's flashlight beam caught fragments of shattered glass glinting like teeth on the floor. The smell of wet fur and blood grew stronger. "Upstairs," Jack commanded, his rifle trained on the doorway. "Now!" No one argued. They moved as one, backing toward the wooden staircase. Sarah's camera bounced against her chest with each step, and she found herself gripping it like a talisman. The beam of her flashlight danced wildly across the walls, making the mounted animal head seem to move. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Claws on wood, getting closer. "It's hurting us," Elena whispered, and Sarah felt her blood run cold because she was right. Each impact, each broken window, it wasn't random. The creature was systematically cutting off our escape routes. They reached the stairs. Beth went first, then Tommy, Elena, then Marcus. Sarah kept her light trained on the kitchen doorway as she backed up, Jack beside her. The stairs creaked under their weight, each sound impossibly loud. A shadow moved in the kitchen. Sarah's breath caught. Through her flashlight beam, she saw something massive pass through the doorway, shoulders the size of a bear's, but wrong somehow. The fur was matted with blood and something darker. Its head stayed just outside the light. Jack's rifle came up. The creature laughed. There was no other word for it. A sound caught between a growl and human amusement. Too intelligent, too wrong. Sarah heard Marcus whimper behind her. The thing took another step forward, and now Sarah could see its eyes, red as the moon outside, glowing with their own inner light. They fixed on her with terrible intelligence. Jack fired. The gunshot was deafening in the confined space. The creature jerked, snarled, a sound that made Sarah's teeth ache, but didn't fall. Instead, it seemed to grow larger, its outline shifting like smoke. "Run!" Jack shouted, working the bolt on his rifle. They scrambled up the stairs as Jack fired again. Sarah's flashlight beam bounced wildly, showing glimpses of the chaos. Elena pulling Tommy up the last few steps, Marcus fumbling with the door to the master bedroom, Beth screaming something about the windows.
They piled into the bedroom. Jack backed in last, slamming the door. "Help me!" he growled, and they all moved to push the heavy oak dresser against it. Crash! The sound of splintering wood from downstairs, heavy footfalls on the stairs, getting closer. "The windows!" Beth gasped. "We need to block them." "No time," Jack cut her off, reloading his rifle with shaking hands. That thing shrugged off 2 30-06 rounds like they were bee stings. "We need a plan." Sarah's mind raced. "The roof! If we can get to the shed, there's the snowmobile." Something massive hit the bedroom door. The dresser scraped back an inch. Wham! Another impact. The door frame splintered. "There's a ledge," Tommy said suddenly, "outside my window. If we can reach the dormer." Crash! The dresser toppled. The door burst inward in a shower of splinters. Red eyes gleamed in the darkness. The creature filled the doorway completely now, its shoulders scraping both sides. In the confused beams of their flashlights, Sarah saw its face, wolf-like but wrong, the muzzle too long, teeth too numerous. Muscles rippled under blood-matted fur as it took a step forward. And then it did something worse than attack. It spoke. The voice was like gravel being crushed, like bones breaking, like every nightmare Sarah had ever had. "Run," it said, and its jaws split in what might have been a smile. "Make it interesting." Tommy screamed. Marcus dropped his flashlight. The creature lunged forward, claws extended, and Jack fired directly into its open mouth. The thing reeled back, howling in pain and rage. Blood as black as oil sprayed the walls. "Tommy's room!" Jack shouted. "Now!" They ran. Behind them, the creature's howls turned to that terrible laughter again. The hunt was just beginning.
Tommy's room felt impossibly small with 6 people crammed inside. Sarah's flashlight beam caught familiar teenage touches, faded posters, sports trophies, a collection of comic books, now transformed into something sinister by shadows and fear. "The ledge," Jack said, checking his rifle's chamber. 2 rounds left. "Tommy, show them." Tommy's hands shook as he unlatched his window. Frigid air rushed in, carrying the metallic scent of snow and blood. Sarah moved closer, peering out. A narrow, decorative ledge ran along the cabin's face, connecting to a dormer roof 20 feet away. From downstairs came the sound of destruction, wood splintering, glass breaking, their belongings being systematically torn apart. "It's toying with us," Elena whispered, "like a cat with mice." "Shut up," Beth snapped, but her voice cracked. "Just, please." Sarah forced herself to think clinically, professionally. "The shed's about 40 yards from the dormer. If we can reach it, the snowmobile." A howl cut through the night, but this time it came from outside, below them. Sarah's heart stopped. She leaned out further, flashlight beam cutting through snowflakes. Red eyes stared back up at her. The creature sat in the snow, massive head tilted, watching, waiting. Its fur rippled in ways fur shouldn't move, like something living beneath the surface was rearranging itself. "It knows," Marcus moaned. "It knows what we're planning." Heavy footfalls on the stairs, coming closer. They were trapped between the monster inside and the one below. "The attic," Jack said suddenly. "There's a crawl space, if we can—" The bedroom door exploded inward. Sarah's world narrowed to fragments of horror caught in intersecting flashlight beams. Claws longer than her fingers, teeth that didn't fit in its jaw, muscles writhing and reforming beneath blood-slick fur. Those terrible red eyes. Jack fired his last 2 rounds. The creature didn't even flinch. "Window!" Sarah screamed, but Tommy was already moving. He scrambled onto the ledge, Beth right behind him. Elena hesitated, looking at the drop. The monster lunged. Marcus shoved Elena toward the window, then turned to run, but there was nowhere to go. Claws raked across his back. He screamed, high and terrible. "Marcus!" Sarah reached for him. Jack grabbed her arm, yanking her back. Too late. The last thing Sarah saw as Jack pushed her through the window was Marcus being lifted like a rag doll, those impossible teeth closing around. She looked away. Her boots scraped on the icy ledge. Ahead, Tommy and Beth were already halfway to the dormer, Elena following, scrambling on hands and knees. Sarah was halfway there when she heard it. Wet crunching sounds from Tommy's room. Then that terrible voice. "Delicious, but I prefer the chase." Something huge burst through the window behind them.
Jack shoved Sarah hard. "Run!" She stumbled forward as Jack turned to face the monster, his empty rifle lazed like a club. The monster's massive form filled the window frame, its body twisting in ways that should have been impossible as it pulled itself onto the ledge. Jack swung the rifle. The creature caught it in its jaws, snapping the steel like kindling. "Jack!" Beth screamed from the dormer. "Please!" But it was too late. The monster's claws swept out, almost casual. Jack tried to dodge, but the ledge was too narrow. Blood sprayed black in the moonlight. Sarah watched in horror as Jack Cooper, the man who knew these mountains better than anyone, fell silently into the darkness below. Beth's scream seemed to go on forever. 4 little mice left, the creature growled, its massive form starting to pad along the ledge toward them. "Where will you run now?" Sarah turned and ran, tears freezing on her face as she reached the dormer. Tommy and Elena pulled her up onto the rough shingles. Beth was beyond speech, beyond tears, staring at the spot where her husband had fallen. The monster's laughter echoed across the snow-filled night. They had nowhere left to go but forward, and the night was far from the over. The dormer roof was a sheet of ice beneath their boots. Sarah's fingers burned as they clawed at frozen shingles, trying to find purchase. The shed seemed impossibly far away, a dark shape in the swirling snow. "Mom," Tommy whispered, shaking Beth's shoulder. "Mom, please, we have to move." Beth stared blankly ahead, shock written across her face. Elena grabbed her arm. Beth, listen to me. Jack would want you to protect Tommy. Do you understand? Protect your son." Something in those words reached her. Beth blinked, focused. "Such touching loyalty," the creature called from the ledge. It moved with terrible grace, testing each step, taking its time. "The pack that stays together dies together." Sarah's mind raced. The monster was too big for the ledge. It had to move carefully, which bought them precious seconds. But once it reached the dormer, "The power lines!" she gasped, pointing. A thick cable ran from the roof to a pole 30 feet away, designed to handle the mountain's brutal winters. "If we can—" "Are you insane?" Elena hissed. "In this wind?" "Better than waiting to die," Sarah shot back. She yanked off her camera strap, testing its strength. "Tommy first. He's lightest." The creature's claws scraped closer on the ledge. Tommy looked at the cable, then at his mother. Beth touched his face. "Go," she whispered. "Go, baby." Sarah looped the strap over the cable, creating a crude zipline handle. "Hold tight. Don't stop for anything." Tommy gripped the strap, hands shaking. "I can't." "Yes, you can," Beth said fiercely. "You're a Cooper." The monster reached the edge of the dormer. Tommy jumped. The strap squealed against the cable as he zipped through the darkness. Sarah held her breath until she saw him land in a snowbank beneath the pole, rolling to his feet. "Beth, you're next." Sarah pulled the strap back up with the spare line she'd tied to it. "Elena, help me brace." The dormer shook as the creature hauled itself up. Sarah's flashlight beam caught its full form for the first time, and her mind recoiled from what it saw. The thing before them was wolf-like, but wrong in ways that defied biology. Its shoulders rippled with muscle beneath fur that seemed to shift colors in the moonlight. Its head was massive, jaw distended to accommodate too many teeth. But worst were the half-formed shapes that seemed to push against its skin from within, as if other creatures were trying to emerge. "No more running," it growled, and Sarah saw intelligence in those red eyes, ancient, hungry. "No more games." It lunged. Elena shoved Beth toward the cable. "Go!" Beth grabbed the strap and jumped just as massive claws raked the space where she'd been. The creature's strike unbalanced it on the icy roof. It slid several feet before its claws found purchase, giving them precious seconds. "You next," Sarah told Elena, readying the strap again. "Together," Elena countered. "The strap will hold too. I've calculated the tensile strength and—" Clever mice, but not clever enough. It charged. Sarah and Elena grabbed the strap together and jumped. The cable bounced wildly with their combined weight. Wind tore at their clothes. Behind them, the creature's roar of fury shook snow from the trees. They were halfway across when Sarah felt the cable start to give.
The creature had leaped onto the cable, its massive weight causing the line to sag dangerously. Metal groaned, the pole swayed. "Swing!" Sarah screamed. "Build momentum!" They kicked their legs in unison, swinging wider, faster. The creature pulled itself along the cable behind them, getting closer. Sarah could smell its hot breath. The cable snapped. Elena screamed as they were whipped through the air. Sarah's world turned to chaos and snow and rushing wind. Then, impact. She hit the snowbank hard, the breath driven from her lungs. Somewhere nearby, she heard Elena gasping. "Run!" Beth was pulling her up. "The shed! Now!" Sarah stumbled to her feet. Tommy helped Elena up. They ran through knee-deep snow, flashlight beams bouncing wildly. Behind them, something huge crashed through the trees. They reached the shed door. Sarah's fingers felt frozen as she fumbled with the latch. Inside, the snowmobile waited like salvation. But as their light swept the small space, Sarah's heart stopped. The engine had been torn apart. Pieces of metal and machinery lay scattered across the floor. "No!" Beth moaned. "No! No!" "Did you think I wouldn't plan ahead?" The voice came from right outside. "That I wouldn't disable your escape?" Red eyes appeared in the doorway. "I've been hunting your kind for centuries, and I never lose." The shed's walls seemed to close in around them. Sarah's flashlight beam caught cobwebs dancing in their panicked breaths, tools hanging like instruments of execution on the walls. The creature filled the doorway completely now, its massive shoulders scraping both sides as it took a step forward. "The back wall," Tommy whispered. "It's just wood. If, the monster mocked, its voice like grinding bones. "Always looking for escape, but I can smell your fear, taste your despair." Sarah's hand closed around a rusted wrench on the workbench. Not much of a weapon against something that shrugged off rifle rounds, but better than nothing. Beside her, Elena gripped a screwdriver. Beth pushed Tommy behind her, backing them toward the rear wall. The creature's fur rippled, and Sarah watched in horror as its skull seemed to reshape itself, becoming more elongated, more nightmarish. "I could kill you all now," it said, almost conversationally, "but where's the fun in that?" It lunged with impossible speed. Sarah swung the wrench. The monster's head snapped sideways, avoiding the blow with fluid grace. Its claws caught Sarah's jacket, lifting her like a child's toy. She felt hot breath on her face, saw her reflection distorted in those crimson eyes. "No!" Elena drove the screwdriver into the creature's flank. The monster roared, dropping Sarah. She rolled, gasping as it rounded on Elena, but the distraction had given Beth and Tommy time to attack the back wall, kicking at the weathered boards. Wood splintered. The monster's head whipped around at the sound. Elena scrambled backward, still holding the bloody screwdriver. Sarah pushed herself up, ribs screaming in protest. Crack! A board gave way, moonlight spilling through the gap. Tommy kicked again, widening the hole. The monster laughed that terrible laugh. "Yes, run. Make the hunt interesting." It lunged for Elena. Sarah didn't think. She threw herself forward, swinging the wrench, the creature's leg. The impact jarred her arms, but she felt something give. The monster stumbled, snarling in pain and rage. "Go!" Sarah screamed at Elena. "Now!" Elena dove through the hole in the wall. Beth shoved Tommy through after her. Sarah scrambled toward the opening as massive jaws snapped shut inches from her boots. She tumbled into the snow, rolling to her feet. The others were already running toward the tree line. Behind her, the shed's wall exploded outward as the creature burst through. They ran, through deep snow and deeper shadows, branches whipping their faces. Sarah's lungs burned in the frozen air. She could hear the monster crashing through the forest behind them, its howls echoing off the mountains. "There!" Tommy pointed at a shape looming in the darkness. "The old mine!" Sarah's heart leaped. The abandoned silver mine was their only chance. Its tunnels might be too narrow for the creature to follow, might give them time to think, to plan. They reached the mine entrance, a black maw in the mountainside. Rotting support beams framed the opening like broken teeth. A rusted sign warned, "Danger, unstable ground." "Inside!" Beth gasped, pushing Tommy forward. "Hurry!" They plunged into darkness. Sarah's flashlight beam showed rough-hewn walls, mining cart tracks running into blackness. The air smelled of wet stone and decay. Behind them, the monster's howl echoed off the mountain. "Deeper!" Elena panted. "Before it—" The entrance collapsed in a shower of rock and timber. Sarah's flashlight caught glimpses of massive claws tearing through the support beams, red eyes glowing in the dust cloud. No more running, nowhere left to hide. They backed away deeper into the mine. Water dripped somewhere in the darkness. Their flashlight beams caught old equipment, fallen rocks, rotting timbers. The monster advanced, taking its time now, playing with them. "The side tunnel," Tommy whispered. "Maybe we can—" The monster's laugh cut him off. "I can smell your blood, hear your hearts racing. This ends now." It gathered itself to spring, and that's when Sarah's flashlight beam caught something else in the darkness behind them, something that made her blood run cold. Bones, hundreds of bones, and among them, glinting in the light, fresh corpses, the missing hikers. This wasn't just a mine, it was the monster's lair, and they had just trapped themselves in it.
The mine shaft seemed to breathe around them, ancient timbers groaning under the mountain's weight. Sarah's flashlight beam caught fragments of horror in the darkness, shattered bones yellowed with age, newer remains still wearing scraps of gore-stained clothing, and deeper in the shadows, movement. "Oh God," Elena whispered, "there's more than one." Red eyes opened in the darkness behind them. 2 pairs, 3. The sound of claws on stone echoed from deeper tunnels. The first monster's laugh rumbled through the cave. "My children are hungry. They've been waiting so patiently." "The support beams," Sarah breathed, her mind racing. "If we can bring down the tunnel." A howl cut through the darkness, this one from behind them. Tommy screamed as massive shapes emerged from the deeper tunnels, smaller than the first creature, but no less terrifying. Their fur rippled with the same wrong movements, their eyes glowing with the same ancient hunger. They were surrounded. "Stay together," Beth commanded, her voice surprisingly steady. "Back to back." They formed a tight circle, flashlight beams cutting through the dust-filled air. Sarah counted 6 of the smaller creatures, plus the original monster blocking the entrance. Their chances of survival had just dropped from slim to nearly none. "Watch closely, my children," the alpha growled. "See how they cluster together, like sheep. Learn how fear tastes." The smaller creatures began circling them, moving with fluid grace. Their forms seemed less stable than the alpha's, shifting between wolf and something else with each step. Sarah felt Tommy trembling beside her. Beth gripped her son's hand. Elena's breath came in short gasps. "The explosives," Tommy said suddenly. "What?" Sarah kept her eyes on the circling monsters. Dad said they used to store blasting powder in here, for mining, in the side chambers." The alpha's laugh echoed off the walls. "Clever little mouse, but do you really think you can reach it before my children reach you?" One of the smaller creatures darted forward, snapping at Elena's leg. She jerked back, stumbling into Beth. Another lunged from the opposite side, forcing them to tighten their circle. They were being herded. Sarah's flashlight caught old mining equipment scattered around them. Picks, shovels, rusted cart tracks leading into darkness. And there, half hidden behind a fallen beam, a wooden crate with faded warning symbols. "Tommy," she whispered, "how stable is this section of the mine?" "Not very. That's why they abandoned it. One good cave-in and—" "Enough talk," the alpha snarled. "Time to feed." The smaller creatures attacked as one. Sarah swung her flashlight like a club, catching one in the jaw. Elena screamed as claws raked her arm. Beth pushed Tommy down as massive jaws snapped where his head had been. They broke formation, scrambling in different directions. "The crate!" Sarah shouted, diving toward it. "Get to the crate!" She heard Beth cry out in pain, heard Tommy calling for his mother. Her fingers closed around splintered wood as one of the creatures slammed into her back, driving her to the ground. Hot breath on her neck, the smell of death. Crack! The sound of wood striking bone. The weight vanished from Sarah's back. She rolled over to see Elena standing there, wielding a broken support beam like a baseball bat. "Hurry!" Elena gasped. Sarah tore open the crate. Inside, ancient sticks of dynamite lay nestled in rotting straw. The blasting caps were corroded, the fuses frayed. But maybe, just maybe, how entertaining! The alpha's voice boomed through the cave, but futile. Sarah looked up. The monster filled her vision, massive head lowering toward her. Behind it, she saw Beth struggling with 2 of the smaller creatures, while Tommy tried to pull her free. Elena swung her makeshift weapon, keeping another at bay. The alpha's jaws opened, showing rows of impossible teeth.
Sarah struck a match. The creature's red eyes widened as she touched the flame to the frayed fuse. "Run," she whispered. Then she threw the dynamite straight into the monster's open mouth. The alpha's jaws snapped shut reflexively. Its eyes bulged as it realized what it had caught. "Move!" Sarah screamed, grabbing Elena's arm. "Everyone out, now!" They ran. Behind them, the alpha was thrashing, trying to dislodge the explosive. The smaller creatures hesitated, confused by their parents' distress. Sarah's flashlight caught Tommy, helping Beth toward the entrance, her leg leaving a trail of blood. 20 feet, 15, 10. The fuse sputtered. 5 feet. The alpha howled. They dove through the ruined entrance just as the dynamite exploded. The mountain seemed to scream as tons of rock came crashing down. Sarah felt the shockwave lift her, throw her into the snow. Dust and debris rained down around them. When it finally stopped, the mine entrance had completely collapsed. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. They lay in the blood-stained snow, gasping for breath, waiting. Silence. Then, from deep within the mountain, they heard it. A laugh, and the sound of digging.
The blood moon hung low on the horizon now, painting the snow-covered clearing in dying crimson light. Sarah pushed herself to her feet, every muscle screaming in protest. Beside her, Elena helped Beth up while Tommy supported his mother's injured side. The sound of claws scraping stone echoed from the collapsed mine entrance. "It's not dead," Beth whispered, her voice hollow. "Of course it's not dead. Jack's bullets didn't kill it. The fall didn't kill it. Why would we think—" "The cabin," Sarah cut her off, forcing her voice to stay steady. "We need to get back to the cabin." "Are you insane?" Elena gestured at their tracks in the snow. "We'd be walking right into—" "We need weapons," Sarah said. "Real weapons. Jack's gun safe, the propane tanks in the basement, and we need to make our stand somewhere we know." A massive impact shook loose rocks from the mine entrance. The scraping sounds grew louder. They ran. The pre-dawn forest was a maze of shadows and snow. Sarah's flashlight beam caught their breath clouding in the freezing air as they half ran, half stumbled through deep drifts. Beth tried to muffle her pained gasps as Tommy helped her along. Elena brought up the rear, stopping occasionally to listen for pursuit. They reached the cabin just as the sky began to lighten in the east. The building was a wreck, windows shattered, doors torn from hinges, walls scored with massive claw marks. Inside, furniture lay scattered like broken toys. Sarah tried not to look at the dark stains on the floor as they made their way to the gun safe. "The combination," Beth said, leaning against the wall. "Jack never told me." "Tommy's birthday," Sarah interrupted, already spinning the dial. "I saw him open it earlier." The safe door swung open to reveal Jack Cooper's arsenal, hunting rifles, shotguns, boxes of ammunition. And there, in the back, something that made Sarah's heart leap, a flare gun. "Load everything you can carry," Sarah commanded, passing out weapons. "Beth, can you shoot with that leg?" Beth checked a rifle's action with practiced hands. "Try to stop me." They worked quickly, methodically. Sarah found herself falling into the calm focus she used during dangerous wildlife photography sessions. Check the weapons, count the ammunition, plan the angles of fire. Outside, a howl shattered the pre-dawn silence. "It's free," Elena whispered, peering through a broken window. "And it's different." Sarah looked out, her breath caught. The creature emerged from the trees, but it had changed. The explosion had torn away patches of fur, revealing something underneath that wasn't skin or muscle. It was darkness given form, writhing and reshaping itself. Its red eyes blazed brighter than ever, and its mouth contained what looked like a galaxy of teeth. "Clever mice, but now I'm angry," it roared, its voice deeper, more inhuman than before. The smaller creatures emerged from the forest behind it, their forms similarly warped and twisted. The family resemblance was clearer now. They were all part of something older, something that had been hunting in these mountains long before humans arrived. "Positions," Sarah said quietly, raising her rifle. "Tommy, the flare gun. Wait for my signal." They took up defensive positions around the cabin's main room. Beth knelt by the remains of the front door. Elena covered the kitchen. Tommy stayed in the center with the flare gun. The alpha monster stalked closer, its massive form casting long shadows in the growing dawn light. "I've existed for millennia, fed on your kind since you first dared enter my woods. Your weapons are nothing. Your courage is nothing. You are nothing but meat."
It gathered itself to spring. Sarah's finger tightened on the trigger. "You're wrong," she said clearly. "We're not nothing." She fired. The bullet struck the creature's eye, causing it to rear back with a roar of pain and fury. Beth and Elena opened fire from their positions, forcing the smaller creatures back. "Tommy, now!" Tommy raised the flare gun and fired. The magnesium flare struck one of the propane tanks they'd positioned outside. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the world turned to fire. The explosion caught the alpha monster mid-leap, engulfing it in chemical flames. Its roar of rage turned to one of agony as the fire caught in its exposed darkness, burning away whatever ancient magic held it together. The smaller creatures tried to flee, but Beth and Elena's concentrated fire drove them back into the inferno. One by one they burned, their forms collapsing in on themselves until nothing remained but shadow and ash. The alpha thrashed in the flames, its massive form beginning to unravel. "This isn't possible! I am eternal! I am—" Sarah put a bullet through its other eye. The creature's form collapsed like smoke in wind, the ancient darkness within it finally exposed to the light of dawn. As the sun crested the mountain, its last howl faded to nothing. Silence fell over the burning clearing. They stood there, weapons ready, watching as the flames consumed what remained of the monsters. Only when the fire began to die did Sarah finally lower her rifle. "Is it over?" Tommy whispered. Beth pulled her son close. Elena sank to her knees, exhausted. Sarah watched the sun rise over the mountains, turning the snow from red to gold. "Yes," Sarah said quietly, "it's over." They had survived the longest night of their lives, but as Sarah looked at the burning remains of the cabin, at the blood-stained snow and the shadows of the forest, she knew they would never forget what they had learned. Sometimes the monsters in the dark are real, and sometimes they can be beaten.